Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. I wanted to talk briefly about this interview that came out, I think it was yesterday on CNBC with Alan Greenspan. I also got a mail call for you guys, but just briefly talking about this interview. Well, my major takeaway is that Alan Greenspan looks at this virus as BS. All the decisions, not like necessarily that the virus is not real or that it was a pandemic or something like that. What I see Alan Greenspan saying is that all these decisions that are being made around the virus are BS. He says that we know very little about this virus, but we pretend, that we pretend that we know and that we're doing something about it. He goes on to say the critical issue, this is within the first 2 minutes of the interview, he is basically saying that the virus is BS. We need to pay attention to the budget deficits and the entitlement programs because that's where the real critical issues are. And he goes on to say that the people retiring and the demand for funds that comes with it, this demand affects the markets. Okay. And he goes on to say that we know the degree of retirement. So we know the amount of people who are retiring, right? We know that these people are going to demand funding for their retirement, whether it's Social Security or whatnot, right? So this is the demand for funds. And this is where you have to start monetizing the entitlement programs, monetizing the debt, because these things are unfunded. When it comes time to pay those checks, if you do not have either taxes or cutting a government or some way to pay for this thing, then you have to go deeper in the debt, and that means you have to monetize your debt. You go to the Federal Reserve when we say, hey, you need to buy some treasuries so I can send out these Social Security checks to these Social Security recipients out there, all the retirees. And he said that. He goes, we know the degree of retirement, and therefore we know the degree of entitlements. And we know very little about the virus, and we're guessing. Okay? So that's where I feel that the Federal Reserve is out there looking out at the economy, and everything that they have to say about the economy starts off with, due to the virus. Okay? Everything that they do. And that's where I find it very interesting inside of this interview, because Alan Greenspan is basically saying that they know nothing about this virus, but they do know a lot about the entitlement programs. They know a lot about the budget deficit, but they are not talking about that as being the reasonings for monetary action, even though that's the real reason for it. I mean, at least that's what I was getting out of the interview. You guys might have saw something different out of it. What does he say? He goes on to say his overall outlook is that inflation is negative and that it is essential. His overall outlook is that the inflation is negative and that it is essentially the result of entitlements that have crowded out private investment and productivity growth. And he goes, so that's another thing. You think about it, as these entitlement programs swell to be paid, like the retirees are growing ever increasing, and they're going to demand these fundings, and this funding is crowding out private investment and productivity growth. So that's a problem that's going to continue to worsen into the future. And then he goes on to say right at the very end, when they were asking him about it, it's just like, okay, so the Federal Reserve, like, you see a negative inflation into the future, which he finds that to be a problem, right? We need this 2% inflation growth, because that apparently is good for the economy. And so they asked him about it. It was just like, well, what do you think about the Federal Reserve's new monetary stance, or at least their stance on inflation, where they're going to, instead of target 2%, they're going to target a average 2% over a longer run. And he says, I don't want to get involved and stick my nose in any of this. I think so far from what I can judge, things are going well there. So I got to thinking about that for just a second. He was just complaining about how there's very low or negative inflation, how the entitlements are a problem, and how, forecasting inflation into the future is going to be an issue so long as these entitlements keep crowding out private investment. And then he goes on to say at the very end of the interview, he was just thinking, well, as far as the Federal Reserve's right now and their stance on inflation, I feel that things are going well there. You know why he said that? Even though he has all this negative view ahead of time? Is because everybody out there right now believes the Federal Reserve and that there is going to be higher inflation coming. Jerome Powell and the FOMC and their decisions that they have made, and as far as their presentation out there to the rest of the world, they have convinced everybody that there is definitely some inflation coming. There is no doubt about it. They have people freaked out about it. And when people feel that there is inflation coming, what are they going to do? They're going to start spending their money. They want to get it spent before they lose value in their purchasing power. They invested in stocks. They get it into, real estate. They go out and just spend it on having a good time. If nothing else, they'll get more of a good time for their dollar today. But yet everything prior to that, Alan Greenspan is worried about low inflation and negative inflation. That whole interview to me was Alan Greenspan saying that all this is BS and the real problem is that budget deficit and these entitlement programs. And as these retirees start collecting on that, you guys are going to have a heck of a time. A real hell of a time. Anyway, I'm going to leave a link to that interview down in the description for you guys. Let's see what I got 2 packages and a letter today in the mail. So let's open up the first letter here. This is from Ohio, and it's Barrett. We'll just call him Barrett from Ohio. And where's my little... Uh-oh. Okay. So it's a little rip, right? I love these mail calls. I really do. I look forward to them once a week. And, I tried doing like a little video where I was like going in and like opening up the little post office box and stuff, but it didn't turn out very well. Maybe I'll work on that one again and we'll try it another time. But I thought that was pretty fun, opening it up and pulling the mail out. So, been watching your videos for a while now. Today I took the plunge and hit subscribe. I really enjoy your content, and I think you're a great example of how YouTube and similar platforms will replace our education system in the coming decades. The enthusiasm with which you pursue the study of economics is greater than the majority of the college students. Oh, wow. Encloses a 1935 silver certificate. I remember of how much the Fed has changed the U.S. monetary policy, or as some might argue, what the Fed has taken from us. Keep up the good work. Bear from Ohio. Dude, right on. That thing is in great shape. Like, all my silver certificates are all ratty and like just can barely touch them without them falling apart. This thing looks practically brand new. Thank you, man. That is so right on. Cool, man. Silver certificate. I love these things. I love the way they read. This certificate, if you've never read a silver certificate before, this is how it reads if you read it from top to bottom. Silver certificate. This certifies that there is on deposit at the Treasury of the United States of America $1 in silver payable to the bearer on demand. This certificate is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Thank you, man. Very, very cool. Very nice piece. Okay. Let's see. This one says it's from Canada, Mr. Z. More lumber, you're the 2x4. But what is in there? Feels like it's a chunk of 2x4. That would be funny if it was. Anything you want in particular, got to avoid dead weight loss and all that. Mr. Z, you let me know. Anything you want in particular, got to avoid dead weight loss and all that. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm missing that. From the Royal Canadian Mint. Oh, wow. The Year of the Rat, 2020, Year of the Rat. Oh, very cool. Very cool. It's a $10 silver piece from the Royal Canadian Mint with the Year of the Rat on it. very excellent. Wow, I don't have any pieces like that. Like I got the, like the $5 maple leaves and stuff. But this is cool. This is a $10. Looks like they do in commemorative years. Very neat. Very cool. I love these unique pieces. When I ended up having to cash in a bunch of silver for a car, at one point I had traded a silver, like I think it was something like 165 ounces or something. I traded for a Yukon, and I remember the guy who I had traded the silver for. He kept a bunch of it, but then he cashed in a bunch of it too because he needed the cash. And when he took it down to the I don't forget who he took it to, but for some reason I think he took it to a jeweler. I think the jeweler gave him like the best price at the time for it. Anyway, he went down there and the guy was just amazed by the collection because I had so many different types of bullion pieces that I had collected. Like if it was a unique piece, I picked it up, and he was amazed. Like he had never seen a collection as broad and vast as the one that the guy had brought into him. So that was pretty cool. So I love unique pieces like this. Very much appreciated, Mr. Z. Thank you. Let's see. This one's also from Canada. I wonder if this one says it's from Martin. Let's go with that. Oh, yeah. Oh, right on, man. My family is going to totally love this. Maple syrup. Nice. Product of Canada. This is awesome. Oh, I am looking forward to trying this stuff out. I love pancakes. By far one of my favorite breakfasts. And in fact, we went down to a restaurant the other day. They had just changed locations. They had built a new restaurant. It was Arnie's Cafe, and it's kind of like a really famous place a town over. And anyway, they had just purchased a new location, so they just opened it up, and we were in there having breakfast, and I had a big old pile of pancakes. And a couple of days later, I'm reading the Daily Astorian, and the Daily Astoria, and we're on the cover. We were sitting in the dining room, and they snapped a picture, and there's the group of us sitting there at the table, like right there at the front. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, they were good pancakes, and I'm looking forward to having pancakes again and putting some of this maple syrup on it. So, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate these mail calls. It feels really good to get some of this stuff in the mail and know how much you guys appreciate it, and the great letters and the unique pieces and stuff. It's very cool of you guys. I love doing this channel. I really do. I look forward, like, as soon as I'm done with this video and I go to upload it, I'm immediately thinking of the next video to put out. I mean, like, immediately I'm thinking of the next one to do. And, I appreciate you guys hanging out here with me. I appreciate all this stuff. It just amazes me. I love when family comes over and they ask me about the channel and like how things are going, and I'm like, check out these fans. Look how awesome they are. Look at this great stuff that they send. These awesome letters that they write for me. The emails I am so sorry, guys. I wish I could answer all the emails. I wish I could answer all the comments, but sometimes it's so much. Like, I try to read everything, and I try to answer a lot, as much as I can. But I could probably spend 100% of my time just answering emails and answering comments and pursuing this channel. It started off, it was just a hobby for me, and it's grown into something much bigger than that. studying the economy is still just a hobby. But where this channel has gone to is much more than that. So, yeah. I'm not sure what else to say, guys. Thank you. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.